So first of all, what was do you remember the standard form of quadratics? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. It was. If you don't remember, I will just write it down here. Ax squared plus bx plus c. This is the standard form of all the quadratics. Okay. When we are talking about factoring quadratics, we have to divide them into two types. How many types? Two types. What is type 1? Type 1 is when your a is 1. And type 2, which we are going to talk about it later, is when a is not 1, is another number, which is a little bit more difficult. Now let's talk about the first step. First step is finding b and c. So if you compare these two guys, the number beside x is going to be your b, and the number which is alone without x is your c. So here, -6 is my b, and +8 is my c. Be careful, you have to pick the sign as well. B, some students say, okay, b is 6. No, because there's a negative here, right? Okay, now your b is going to be the summation or the addition, and then 8 is going to be the product. What do I mean by that? You have to find two numbers. How many numbers? Two numbers that they add up to -6 and they multiply to 8. Product means multiplication. Okay, so how can I find those two numbers? First of all, I would suggest start with 8, the product. What numbers will multiply to 8? Just write it down here beside the question. So obviously 1 and 8, 1 times 8 is going to be 8. If this number is positive, you have to include when these two numbers are both negative as well. Why? Because -1 times -8 will give me again +8. So it's either both positive or both negative. What other numbers give me or multiply to 8? It's very easy because these are one-digit numbers, so it's not a big deal to find those two numbers. Yes, it's 2 and 4. So 2 and 4. When I write 2 and 4, I will write the -2, -4 as well, because two negatives again will give me the +8. Okay, any other numbers? Any other numbers? No. Okay, now you have to check if I add these guys, these numbers here, which set will give you -6? 8 plus 1 is 9. Nope. -1, -8 is going to be -9. If you are bad at calculations, use your calculator, but these are very easy. So -1, -8 is going to be -9, which is not -6. 2 and 4 is 6. Be careful, we need -6, not 6. So this is cancel out, and then the last one obviously is the answer. -2, -4. If you add them, will give you -6. So this is my pair of numbers. Okay, now I have to have two brackets beside each other. This is the factor form of this. The first terms inside the brackets in type 1 always is x and x. The reason is that when you multiply x by the other x, this will give you the x squared, the first one. So now you have to basically just put these two numbers here with their signs. So don't lose the signs. -2 comes here, -2, very easy. And then -4 comes here. Okay, let's talk about type 2 version, where a is not 1. Your a is not 1. So for example, here in this example number 2, part C, we have 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. So here, as you see, your a is not 1. So what should we do in these cases? The first step is a little bit different from the type 1 questions, the first step is actually multiplying A and C. So first you have to multiply these two numbers, A and C. So here we have 2 and positive 3, which is going to be, so I'm just going to write it here, 2 times 3 is 6. And then just pick the same as we did in the type 1 questions, pick the B, the number here, B, with the sign. So this B goes here, so I have 5, positive 5. So basically in this case, your 6 is going to be your new product. So my product is not 3, is 2 times 3, which is 6. And then my addition or my summation is again the same as previous ones, is positive 5. Now you have to find two numbers which multiply to 6 and which add up to 5. So this is the same thing that we did for previous questions. So again, what numbers will multiply to 6? What comes to your mind? 1 and 6, yes. 1 and 6. So as I said before, when this number is positive, always you have to include the negative numbers as well, because they multiply to positive 6 as well. What are the other numbers? Yes, 2 and 3. So 2 and 3, and then as you know, negative 2 and negative 3 will multiply to 6. So which one will add up to 5? Let's check it quickly. And then as you noticed, the third pair, 2 and 3, will add up to 5 and will multiply to 6. So these are not correct. Okay, now here, do you remember we had two brackets beside each other? Here we have one step before that. So what is that step? Repeat the 2x squared. Then instead of 5x, you have to use these two numbers to break this down. So what do I mean by that? Instead of writing 5x, I can break it down to 2x and 3x. It's like you say we have 5 apples. Instead of writing 5 apples, you can write 2 apples plus 3 apples, which is the same thing. So I'm gonna just write 2x plus 3x, and then I have 1 plus 3 here. Okay, so now as you notice, I wrote 2x beside 2x squared and 3x beside 3. The reason is that now from this first two terms, these two, what can I take out? This is the very basic factoring. So you have to find the common terms. Here, what is common between 2x squared and 2x? What can I take out from these two? So obviously I can take the 2 out, and I can take 1x out. So overall I can take I can take 2x out. So what is left from the first one? 2 and 2, they're okay. Here we have 2 x's, here we have 1x, so we need 1x here, plus 2x, 2x, so they're the same. So as you know, it's not 0, it's 1. Close the bracket, plus 3x plus 3. What can I take out? 3. So what is left from the first one? X. What is left from the second one? 1, or positive 1. Okay, now if I compare again these two, what is common? What is common? X plus 1. So I can take the x plus 1 out. If I take the x plus 1 out, okay, now what is left? Compare this to this big term here. So we have x plus 1, here we have x plus 1. What is left is 2x plus, so here plus, this is not beautiful, so let's make it beautiful. X, this is good, plus, so here again I have x plus 1. If I take it out, what is left is going to be 3, and that's it. It's now fully factored. Okay, now I'm gonna show you another way to factor this expression. First of all, you have to see what you have for your a value, and as you know, in this case it's 2, so we are in type 2, a is not 1. Now what you have to do is multiplying and dividing the whole expression by the number you see here. So in this case this is 2, so I'm gonna multiply and divide the whole expression by 2 and dividing it by 2. So basically it doesn't affect the expression because 2 over 2 is 1, so we can do that. So now so 2 times 2, it's 4, but I'm not gonna write 4 here. There's a reason for that. Instead of 4, I can write 2 to the power of 2. But do you see this x squared here? So can I write it like this? 2x, the whole thing to the power of 2. So now this is 4, which is here, and this is x squared, which is here. Okay, next, plus 2 times 5x is going to be 10x, but I'm not gonna write 10x. Again, there's a reason for that. Just keep the 5 first and write 2 beside x. This is the same thing. 5 times 2x, 2 times 5x. It's gonna be 10x, right? Okay, now plus 2 times 3 is 6. And then this 2 comes here in the denominator, right? Okay. Now what I have in the numerator is something similar to type 1 questions. So basically your a is 1, your b is 5. So let me write it down. This is your a, this is your b, and this 6 or positive 6 is your c. The only difference is that before we had only x here, but now we have 2x. Okay, so now do you remember these two brackets and we had x and x here? But here in this question, instead of x and x, you have 2x and 2x. 2x, 2x, and this 2 is here. Okay, now what you have to do is, do you remember we had to find two numbers? This is going to be your sum, and this is going to be your product. So this is very easy. You know, it's those two numbers are 2 and 3. So it doesn't matter which one you pick. So I'm going to write 2 here and 3 here. So they add up to 5. They multiply to 6. Now there is one more step before we finish it. And that step is, I'm going to write it here. So do you see these 2's here? Can I take it out? Yes. So if I take the 2 out, what is left from the first one is x. What is left from the second one is 1. And then 2x plus 3, just repeat it. Okay, now there is a 2 here. And then what can I do here is just cancel out the 2's to get rid of those 2's and the denominator. Now what I have is the factored form of the quadratic expression here. X plus 1, 2x plus 3. If you compare with the other way that we solved it in the last section, they're the same, right? X plus 1, 2x plus 3. Again, it's up to you which way you choose to solve this, but this is another way to factor this expression. Okay, let me show you another way. So this is the third way to factor the quadratics when a is not 1. This one is called Crisscross. I don't know if you have ever heard about it, but it's a quick way. Actually, I like it, but it's gonna be more difficult when the numbers are bigger numbers. So let's try with this one. First of all, you have a vertical line. You have to find two terms which make 2x squared. So here, for example, we have x and 2x. Are there any other terms which will make 2x squared? Probably not. So basically 2x and x, if you multiply them, will give you 2x squared. Then here you have to find two numbers which multiply to 3. So you don't need to do 2 times 3 in this way. Be careful. So what numbers make or multiply to positive 3? You know, it's 1 and 3, or the negative version of these two. So negative 1, negative 3, they all multiply to 3. Is there any other numbers or any other sets? No. Okay, now you have to try all the combinations of these pairs here. So what do I mean by that? So one time you pick 1 and 3, so I'm gonna write it here. The same thing, instead of 1 and 3, you can switch them, huh? So it's gonna be 3 and 1. And then one time, sorry, this is x, 2x, and one time the negative ones. So negative 1, negative 3, and the other one is going to be negative 3 and negative 1. Okay, now you have to do the cross multiplication. So like this, it's like a cross for all of them. Now 3 times x, it's 3x. 2x times 1 is 2x. So now what is this? It's 5x. You have to check if the answer is the middle term or not. So in this case, it actually was the correct one. If we try the other one, so for example, here you have 2x times 3, which is 6x, plus 1 times x is x. This gives me 7x, but I need 5x. How about this one? This is negative x minus 6x, which is negative 7x. I don't need that. I need 5x. Here it's negative 3x minus 2x, which is negative 5x. So again, I need positive 5x. So now I found that this is the correct combination. Now what would be my factor form? You have to choose the factors horizontally, so like this. These are going to be your factors. So the question, which is, I'm going to write it here, 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 is going to be these two factors. So x, this is positive 1, so I'm going to write x plus 1. 2x, this is positive 3, so I'm going to write 2x plus 3. And as you see, I've got the same answer.